I did something interesting. I went on Instagram and I asked my followers to tell me their favorite book from 2022 and their least favorite. The results are very, very interesting. I wasn't sure how to go about sharing these results with you, so I put on my statistics thinking cap, and what did I do? I made a list of all of the favorites, all of the least favorites, and then I found the mode. The mode is the most frequent in a set of data, I think. And that's what I found. I have a list of probably 30 favorites and 20 least favorites. I think people felt a little bit less willing to share their least favorites. Alright, so let's start with the favorites. I'm going to give you the top 5 voted books of the year according to Book Talk. The last 4 all have the same amount of votes, and the first one has the most. Oddly enough, this is like a very large list, so there weren't many repeats. The second, third, fourth, and fifth most mentioned books only were mentioned twice, and the most mentioned was mentioned 3 times. I'm doing these 4 in absolutely no order. These all got 2 votes. So, most favorite. Let's start off with Red, White, and Royal Blue. I have never read this before, but after this, I think I should, because it was 2 people's favorite books of the year. Like, that says a lot. To be a favorite book of the year means a lot, honestly. This is an LGBTQ romance. It is about the first son falling in love with the Prince of Wales. I've heard a lot of controversial things about this, actually. Like, I've heard some people say they loved it, some people say they did not care for it. But the fact that 2 people said it was the best book of the year for them makes me want to read it. So we are adding that to my TBR. Okay, so another favorite of the year is Ignite Me by Tahara Mafi. Kind of surprising, but this is the 3rd book in the Shatter Me series. I have not read this either, so it looks like I'm really missing out. That's what we're learning from this video. I was actually considering reading Shatter Me as a book vlog this week, but I ended up reading Addicted to You. Clearly I'm missing out, but I will be reading Shatter Me soon. I feel like the 3rd book actually is always my favorite of a series. Like, A Court of Wings and Ruin is my favorite, Queen of Nothing's my favorite. I feel like it's always the 3rd book, so that is quite interesting. Alright, next up on the list is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Another one I have not read. I think it's interesting that The Secret History is still so popular. Like, this is just a classic. This was released in 1992 and it's 544 pages. It's a big book and it's kind of old. So the fact that 2 people have said that this was their favorite book of the year, I think means a lot. This is also like a dark academia sort of book. I think it's like very psychologically, I don't know if I'd call it a psychological thriller, but like somewhere along the lines of that. It's very psychological. So if that interests you, there you are. Okay, next up we have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. Finally a book I read. I read this for my book club in March, April, and I really liked it. I definitely would not say it was my favorite book of the year, but I really liked it. It's like a fantasy retelling of Romeo and Juliet, but it's like between these 2 gangs in Shanghai, I think. It is a duology. It's very good. I definitely recommend it. I just wasn't like obsessed with it, but I really did like it. So if you're looking for like a fantasy retelling, I recommend. It's also like enemies to lovers, slow burn. Okay, finally we are at the most favorite book of 2022 according to Bookstagram. This is none other than, drumroll please, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've never read this. So ashamed to be saying that out loud because I know that this is so good. Like, I've never heard somebody say a bad thing about it. Like, sure, it might not be everyone's favorite, but like, I don't know a single person who read it and didn't enjoy it, so I don't really know what I'm waiting for. This was released in 2017, so it's been out for quite a while. So if you're unfamiliar with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, quick little summary. This is about aging and reclusive Hollywood movie icon Evelyn Hugo. I just read that from the description. I didn't word that myself. She is kind of ready to retire, done with her career. She wants to do an interview and tell her life story. She picks this kind of unlikely reporter to tell the story for her, and that's a bit of a mystery in and of itself because no one understands why she chose this reporter. It's about being in show business and being in LA through the 50s, through the 80s, and all of the husbands that she's had along the way and all the stories with them. Obviously, this sounds like such a good book. I don't know why I haven't read it. I'm just an idiot, I guess. So that is the favorite book of the year according to my Bookstagram. Now let's get into Bookstagram's least favorite books of the year. These were quite telling. Kind of expected a lot of them to be on here because they're quite polarizing books. You either love them or you hate them. So there's not much more to say. Let's jump right in. There was a 4-way tie for the most disliked book of the year. I don't want to say hated because I'm sure somebody hated them, but I don't want to say hated because that's not kind. So the most disliked books of the year, this is in no apparent order. These all, just like the favorites, have 2 votes for them, so not a crazy amount, but still qualifies them for the most disliked. The first one is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I am on board with this decision. I am not the target audience for this book. Never was, never will be, shouldn't have read it. I think it's targeted for a very specific type of romance reader, and that's just not me, and clearly 2 other people. So for the 3 of us, it's clearly not for us, and that's fine. The next 2 are from none other than Miss Colleen Hoover. Now, there was Colleen Hoover listed a couple times on the favorites, but not a lot. She was listed much more often on the least favorites. In total, she was listed 8 times for the most disliked book of the year. So the first one that had 2 votes was November 9. I'm going to have to also jump on board. I DNF'd that book a couple years ago. I just didn't like it. It felt weird. I didn't like it. Next one is Ugly Love. I read this a long time ago. I literally think I read this when I was 16 and I'm now 22. I don't really know if this is like a great book for a 16-year-old to be reading. Regardless, I read it, and I do remember really liking it when I read it, but I don't think I would like it now as much. You've probably heard of both of those if you're on Book Talk, Bookstagram, BookTube. You've heard of Colleen Hoover, I'm sure. So that's very interesting that those 2 have landed on this list. Next, the last one for the most hated is The Atlas Paradox. The Atlas series entails the first book, The Atlas 6, and the second book, The Atlas Paradox. The Atlas 6 was mentioned once, The Atlas Paradox was mentioned twice, so that is interesting. This was released just this past year, and it is a sci-fi fantasy book. It is 400 pages. That's about all I know. I never read The Atlas 6 as well. This is by Olivia Blake. Olivia or Olivia, I'm not sure. Okay, now I thought as I talk, I would just pop up all of the favorites and then the least favorites for you guys to have. I'm going to do like a 2022 wrap up of my own books probably at the end of December, so that's why I'm not like mentioning my picks in this video. I just thought it'd be fun to like show you guys what Bookstagram thinks. I think it's interesting that the favorite is Taylor Jenkins Reid and the least favorite is Colleen Hoover. Kind of expected that one, and I kind of resonate with that. Colleen Hoover was also mentioned quite a lot in the favorites. We have like such a wide array of things mentioned in the favorites. We have the ACOTAR series, the Cruel Prince series, almost every single romance I've seen on Book Talk and Bookstagram has been on here. Addie LaRue, which is so good, the Mindfuck series, Shatter Me, Love in Other Words, The Night Circus, so many things. There's also a very strong dislike for Tessa Bailey, which I did not expect. I've never read anything Tessa Bailey, but her books were mentioned quite a few times. Somebody even said anything Tessa Bailey. That was their answer. So, let me know what your thoughts are on Tessa Bailey, because I did not realize we felt this way. I'm gonna have to read and judge that for myself. Somebody put reminders of him on their least favorites, and I just have to say that that is cruel. Somebody also put The Cruel Prince, and that's it. I just thought thought this would be like a quick little fun video, show you guys what Bookstagram thinks, see if you resonate with any of these. And that's pretty much it. Stick around. I'm posting an Addicted to You reading vlog by the end of the week, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then I will be posting my 2022 reading wrap up very soon. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you liked and enjoyed this. Also, if you want to join the book club, head over to my Instagram, send me a DM, let me know, and I will add you to the list. I'll be sending out an email for that very soon. So, of course, have a phenomenal week. Thanks for watching.